What's up, guys? Matt Brown here for lineups.com. Same great content, different brand as we move over to the lineups brand from the lines. But here we are, our first video of the season, 2025 Survivor. We're going to be hoisting the big checks. We're going to be cashing the big tickets, everything like that. Cannot wait to be with you guys throughout the course of the season. If you haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button down below. We'll be doing all kinds of NFL content here on the channel, and hopefully making some money, making some good picks, and doing what we need to do to get things done. This is an article we got over at lineups.com. It's from our friends over at PoolGenius. Give you just some thoughts here on how you want to attack Survivor here in 2025. Just some basic thoughts that we want to always think of. How big is the size of your pool? That will determine how much you need to kind of zig when other people are zagging, how much you need to step outside of the common group think and all of that. So think about how big your pool is. Think about the rules of your pool as well. Most pools are pretty straight up. Use a team once, you lose, you're out. But some give you a strike. Some let you do things like that. Also, how is the setup in Circa? You know, if you're in the big Circa contest, Thanksgiving is its own week. Christmas is its own week. Do you have that in your pool? Are there any wrinkles from that standpoint? Some of these Survivor pools, the further you get, you have to make 2 picks a week. So again, just know the rules of your pool as well. Make sure that you have a good plan here. And like I said, I say plan, just make somewhat of a plan, somewhat of a plan. Look at kind of like in a perfect world, how would like week 1, 2, 3, and 4 play out for me? Sure, injuries are going to derail things. Teams might not be as good as you thought. Teams might be better than you thought, but it's good to go in with some sort of plan and kind of head from there. And again, all this outlined stuff that you can look at here over in this article over on lineups.com from our friends at PoolGenius. So let's take a look at some options here for us this week. We'll just use BetMGM from an odds perspective and see what we're looking at. First game of the year, Eagles are 8.5-point favorites against the Cowboys. Talk a little bit about that here in a second. The Cardinals are 6.5-point favorites over the Saints. As we continue to scroll down here, Cincinnati is 5.5-point favorites over Cleveland on the road. We look here, the Commanders are at home as 6-point favorites over the Giants. And then we have the Broncos as 8-point home favorites over the Titans. As we go down a little bit further, you see it just kind of gets 2.5s, 3s, 1s, 1.5s, things like that. We're not going to be worried about any of those type of games. Those are not going to be in consideration for us this week. Let's get all the way back up to the top here. The Eagles at 8.5. Here's the problem for me in this one. Eagles just have too much future value for me to consider them this week. I think they're one of the best teams in the NFL. I have them power rated as one of the best teams in the NFL, if not the best team in the NFL. Not going to play them here in week number 1. So that's going to be, I'm going to throw that out mainly because you will never feel bad about having to go with the Eagles. Like, you just won't ever feel bad about having to go with the Eagles. And I love having one of those teams in my pocket. And this week in particular, I don't think you're forced into having to use the Eagles. So for me, too much future value. Going to move on from this Eagles team. Let's talk about the second the most popular pick this week, in my opinion, is very likely to be this Broncos 8-point home favorites here against the Titans. It's, Cam Ward, rookie quarterback, making his first start on the road. And so that is always going to be something that you want to pick on. I cannot imagine myself not having at least some exposure to this. Full disclosure, I have 10 entries in Circa this year. So I'm not going to do what I've done in years past, which is shove them all on one team right out of the gate. I might do that, of course, down the line here, but I'm probably going to take 2 different paths, if not 3 different paths with those entries. And so with that, I'll at least have some sort of exposure here to the Broncos. Now, that being said, I'm pretty high on the Broncos this year. So I think their future value is maybe a little bit more than what maybe the market even considers. But you do have games in week 6 against the Jets. You have a home game against the Jets in week 6, a home game against the Giants in week number 7, a home game against Dallas in week number 8, a home game against the Raiders in week number 10. I think that is a really good sweet spot to have the Broncos in your arsenal. So for me, like I said, not going to go crazy on the Broncos. Probably will have just a couple of entries on them and move forward here. But I think that this is a team that maybe some sneaky good value here in the middle of the season for sure with the Broncos team that I'm higher on, I think, than the rest of the market. Where I think the next couple of bulk of the entries are going to land. Commanders here, 6-point favorites over the Giants at home. Now, this is one of those deals where I look at this Giants team and I am less apt to pick on them as maybe I would be a team like the Browns or, the Saints or anything like that. Like, maybe Russell Wilson isn't completely cooked. The defense is good. They got a great pass rush, like good defensive front. And honestly, you still have Malik Neighbors and all of that. Like, the Giants probably are going to make some teams' lives miserable. That said, if you can get after them here, maybe the first week of the season, it is a road game, all of that. Probably will have some exposure to Washington, maybe not a ton. But the other thing about Washington, the reason why I might have to just use them here in week number 1 for at least some of these entries is, one, I'm a little bit further down on the Commanders than Market is this year. So I'm expecting a little bit of regression for this team. And then further, just from a future value standpoint, you do have a home game against the Raiders in week number 3 with this Washington team. But outside of that, this is a pretty rough stretch after week 4. You're going on the road to Atlanta, on the road to the Chargers, home game against the Bears, who I think are going to be better, on the road at Dallas, on the road at Kansas City. So, I mean, like you're talking about like maybe not even in consideration again until week number 9 when they have a home game against Seattle. So I think you kind of have to look and play the game here with the Commanders and say, all right, look, 6-point favorite at home. And when am I going to want to use them again? When am I going to be jumping up and down to use them again? Maybe week 3 against the Raiders becomes the spot to use this Commanders team, but probably a couple entries for me there on that one. Now we'll come up here to this game in which I think I will have the bulk of my entries on, which is the Cardinals as 6.5-point favorites against the Saints. I'm going to love to try to pick on the Saints as much as humanly possible. Like, I'm going to try to do everything I can to try to play against Spencer Rattler and the team that I think has some of the least, if not the least amount of talent on the field in all the NFL. You don't ideally want to play road games. I completely get that. But the other thing about it is just this Cardinals team, what a great spot they are in, and when are you going to want to play them? Again, next week against Carolina is a place, and then after that, it's like at San Francisco, Seattle, maybe in week number 5 at home against the Titans, but maybe Cam Ward is good. Maybe after a month in the season, he's starting to play better, but that's certainly a spot you could circle. But after week 5, Cardinals team is almost dead, right? On the road at Indy, Green Bay, at Dallas, at Seattle, San Francisco, at Tampa, the Rams, at Houston, way out Atlanta. Week 16 might be an option, but you got to get to week 16 before that. So it's kind of like the Cardinals, week 1, 2, and 5, when you kind of got to pull the trigger on them, and then you're probably not going to want to do it again until way, way, way late in the season. If you're still around by then, good problem to have. But so probably going to have a decent amount of entries there on the Cardinals in week number 1, even though I don't love playing a road game when I don't necessarily have to, but I'm going to pick on the Saints as much as humanly possible. One game I expect to be fairly popular where I'm not going to be all over it is this Cincinnati team on the road against the Browns. And this has nothing to do with Cincinnati burning everybody last year and everything to do with the fact that I think the Browns are going to be more appealing to play against a little bit further into the season when they have to move away from Joe Flacco. When I say have to move away from Joe Flacco, it's because you drafted 2 quarterbacks in the draft. Like, you're not going to go with a dude who has 1 season left in the NFL. He's not your future. You spent 2 draft picks on quarterbacks. They have to play at some point over the course of the season. So I think they're going to be much more appealing to play against once they have to go to one of the rookies. And so Joe Flacco might have just enough in the tank to like ruin your day, ruin your week, whatever it might be. So for me, I'm going to be looking to wait to play against the Browns. And so Cincinnati on the road, not going to do it for me in week number 1. If you wanted to go there, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. I just think it's maybe unnecessary when you do have Washington, you do have Arizona, and you do have Denver that you can choose between that I think are a little bit better and a little bit safer plays as well. A couple of plays here that I think are going to draw at least a minimal amount of attention, which I am staying far, far away from. Steelers and the Jets. The Steelers on the road in Aaron Rodgers' first start, didn't play all preseason, all the different stuff like that on the road in the Jets, going back to the Jets and all that. Like, no way for me, but I think people are there's going to be a few brave souls, I think, that take that one on. Just not for me here in week number 1. Good on you if you want to go that direction. And I also think that there's going to be some people who want to play the Jags against the Panthers, Jags at home against this Panthers team. I kind of like what I saw from Bryce Young to finish the season last year. I don't know if the Panthers are going to be just a complete team to go in and just beat down every single week. So I'm not going to go there. I want to see what this Panthers team looks like with my eyes before I decide whether I want to play against them with a team that's mediocre, and the Jags are definitely mediocre. So I'm not going to do that. I think that's going to draw a little bit of attention, both of those games, just not my style. So again, I'm passing on Philly. I think that this is a team that has way too much future value. You are always going to feel good about playing Philly any week. So like to have that type of team in my holster if at all possible. So definitely doing that. I think Denver, I think Arizona, I think Washington are all viable here. I don't hate Cincinnati against Cleveland, but like I said, I think that Cleveland's much more interesting to play against towards the middle of the season when they go to the rookie quarterbacks. I think that's when I'm really going to go and attack then. You want to play Jacksonville against Carolina, you want to play Pittsburgh against the Jets, more power to you. I think you're maybe taking on a little bit more risk than you have to here in week number 1. Guys, this is the page over here. Be sure and take it in, some strategy stuff, so all the things you want to be thinking about as you head into Survivor 2025. And over at Lineups, of course, go in. If you don't have additional sportsbook outs and things like that, all the very best deals over there as well. Again, if you haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button. Let me know in the comment section who you playing this week. You got multiple entries. How you going to split them up? If you got single entry, what's the single bullet you're going to do? And hopefully we can continue to talk as all of us survive here in week number 1 and move towards getting one of those big checks or one of those big payouts. Appreciate you guys, and good luck on all of your Survivor picks.